It's the top 5 soldiers in Commander.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Commander Countdown. This is the series where we poll the community and present the top 5 of different Commander topics. And today we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 soldiers. But before we get to your list, we want to take a minute to mention our honorable mentions. So Veggie, which soldier do you think deserved a place on the top 5 but didn't make it?
Oh, this one was easy for me. It's Boromir, Warden of the Tower. This is a 3/3 for 3 with Vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. And you can sacrifice Boromir to give your creatures indestructible until end of turn and the ring tempts you.
Ooh, no more Force of Will?
Yeah, which seems like a weird pick for me. But I actually end up not running a lot of free spells in general, and I like to bring everybody's level down to my garbage.
It also removes all of those pesky if you control your commander, this is free spell. I hate those things because you can't play around them. Oh my goodness. This is fantastic. It is one of the newer soldiers. This is not a reprint of any sort. Yeah, this is an awesome commander. What is the best card that you have countered with this?
You never get to see them, that's the thing, but you can see the look on the Blue Mage's face when this comes down, because they're like, okay. They could counter it, but it's never worth it. They always think I'll just hold on to these until this is dead, and then it just doesn't die. Also, I like a lot of strategies that use very fragile creatures, so this is easy insurance for board wipes and stuff.
You see the second part on a lot of white creatures, sack, protect the rest of your board. That is not uncommon. And there's typically a lot of creatures to protect when you're running humans and soldiers. So definitely love the protection from Board Wrath. All right, moving on to my honorable mention. I have no idea how you guys didn't pick this, but Odin Lunar Marshal definitely deserved a spot. He is a 4-mana, 3/3 human soldier. This says at the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature has first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Are you dead yet?
So many words.
I love just putting this onto the battlefield pre-combat and just getting your opponents with a bunch of things that they're not expecting. This works wonderfully with Mardu with things like Ankle Shanker. This card is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, it is very satisfying to have some little crappy duder that's got 4 words but is a 1/1, and then suddenly you're all of my stuff.
Yeah, or you just have one idiot spirit or something and all of your stuff gets leaped. Oh, so good, and can definitely close out games very quickly. What is wrong with you guys? This should be on the list.
Also, the two that people usually forget, because it's okay, you get all the combat abilities, right? But also hexproof and indestructible. So that this can be just protect your entire team every combat.
Yeah. The hexproof matters a little bit less because I assume if you can touch my stuff on my turn, it is an instant speed, so you could do it in response to going to combat, but can be certainly really relevant for combat tricks and stuff. All right. That's it for our honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and move on to your top 5. Coming in at number 5, we have
Torsten, founder of Benalia. This is a 7-mana 7/7. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 7 cards of your deck. Put any number of creature or lands from among them into your hand. And then when it dies, make 7 1/1 soldiers.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Selesnya typically has 2 types of cards in the deck, lands and creatures. So you just get to draw 7 here?
I wouldn't know. I don't touch these colors, but so I've heard. Yeah, that's a lot of draw, and you are guaranteed something if they just Zorch it right away.
Yeah, and you might miss on a mana rock or a 1 ramp spell, but for the most part, you're going to be getting to refill your hand after you've gotten to 7 mana. This feels pretty fantastic, and you do get a bunch of little duders, which also Selesnya wants and can take advantage of. Wow, this one seems really powerful. This wasn't in the commander or in the main set, right?
No, this was there was a weird cycle of cards that you could only get in the Dominaria
set boosters.
Yeah, either set or collector or both, but they are commander only, but they were not in the precons.
Interesting. I'm wondering what decides what makes the cut into the list or of like the actual precons and what becomes this, because that seems kind of rare. It's not a thing that people were getting in, it's not available in the draft boosters. It's not available in the precons. So a lot of people, like myself, might not know that this even existed.
Yeah, I've literally never seen this card before.
But you did, because you put it on the top 5 list. So it's got to be somewhat popular.
Sure.
All right. Well, we just looked, and there's only a little over 300 decks on EDHRec for this commander. So not quite sure how it made the top 5, but
we have some very big Torsten fans in the decked out viewership.
That means they like Selesnya. Good job.
Blech.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 4. That is Sisay Weatherlight Captain.
Sisay gets +1/+1 for each color among other legendary permanents you control. She's already a 2/2 for 3. But the big one, you can spend one of each color to search your library for a legendary permanent with converted mana cost less than Sisay's power. Put it directly onto the battlefield and shuffle.
Yeah, so this is a cheaty face domain commander, because each of the pips are represented in the text box. So are there a lot of other color support for soldier specifically? Or is this just makes the list for a non-soldier deck because it is a very strong soldier?
Yeah, it's just a good card that happens to have the word soldier on it. Nobody's making Sisay soldiers. They're making Sisay cheat and win. The card is stupid strong, and I guess counts because it is a soldier.
I feel like anytime someone puts a single color commander that is a domain commander, that you just know that person is already cheating.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a colorless or a mono white commander, and then they just get access to everything. So I feel like the cheaters are just easily recognizable from the get.
Now I'm trying to decide. I'm like, is there any commander that is like mono colored, but then has the 5 color identity that you're like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm okay to. I think this will be a normal game.
I feel like Kenrith is a good example, where Kenrith is by himself doesn't feel super cheaty, but then the rest of the deck is just this abomination,
right?
Because nonsense.
It's a card that does a whole lot of stuff and gives you access to 5 colors, so the entire deck is just stacked full of good stuff. That's so you're starting with that base, and then I think I would be fine if he was just like, here's a 5 color, do nothing. Great. I know your deck's going to be full of good stuff, but I don't have to worry about these broken abilities, but they always have them.
Yep. So I feel like that is how you recognize the cheaters at the table, is if they have the domain text box. All right. Moving on to our number 3 pick, and that is a personal favorite of mine, Mentor of the Meek.
This is much better. Good job, everybody. This is a 2/2 for 3, which Sisay was, but this one just says, whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 1, and if you do, draw a card.
I love little creatures and value. This is a fantastic card. I love it in draft. I put it in every single white deck, basically, that I make. My Orzhov token deck has this. This is a card that my lists have, in every deck. Yeah,
this is very nice. I like drawing cards, and there have been a lot of cards that have this ability, or similar abilities that have been printed, but all of them have got once per turn. So yeah, you have to pay a mana, but you are not restricted by the amount that you can do it.
Yeah, it's important to note that though this is a soldier, I mentioned I put it in all my decks because I play a lot of Orzhov tokens and things, but those are not soldier decks. But I do like that it can play nice with other archetypes, but also be very on theme for soldiers, because this is an auto include in a soldier deck, because those things also qualify.
Right, yeah, your soldiers are always 1/1s, so that's instant triggers there.
So just an all-around good card. All right, let's move on to number 2, and there should be no surprise here, Esper Sentinel.
I mean, my one surprise is that it is not number 1. You all know this already, but Esper Sentinel is a 1-mana 1/1 artifact creature. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is its power.
This is one of the few cards where I have multiple copies of, just because it's going to go in every white deck, and I do play a lot of white. And getting to put counters on this or do anything tricky, it's great in Selesnya, it's great in Orzhov, it's going to be great in literally anything you play. Even if you have no ability to pump it, this is still going to make the cut in most of the decks.
Yeah, I would have imagined that this would have been an undisputed number one choice because it's one of the most played cards in the entire format. And they're like you're drawing multiple cards off of this for 1 mana. Mm-hmm. And there's even like, it's also a creature. There is the possibility that you boost it and draw more cards later. Like human and soldier creature types are relevant. And even in artifact, there's just so much that you can do with this. Every deck can use it.
Absolutely. But I will say I am very glad that it did not make number one, because our number one slot, I feel like, should sort of be a soldier and want to be a soldier and be in the deck because it is a soldier. And that is what we've got with our number one pick with
Myel, Shield of Ariv. 4 mana 3/4. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments.
Take that, Veggie.
And also, in addition, as if it needed more, whenever Myel attacks, create X/1/1 colorless soldier, artifact, creature, tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control.
Yeah, this is a good card. It keeps Veggie from touching my stuff.
Yeah, the card is really good. It would have been really good with a single one of these abilities. But yeah, I have to like do stuff on my own turn. Mm-hmm. I don't like it.
I love it. It's also like a 3/4 body against 3 opponents. There's a good chance you'll be able to get in a clean hit with this and make a bunch of extra dudes.
Yeah, you're hitting somebody with it, and then it piles up on itself because all you need is that single swing. Now you've got you've doubled your soldiers or whatever, and then you just do it again. Like after one swing, nobody's blocking this thing.
Yeah, and they get scarier and scarier, and you can use other soldiers that give protection, like your honorable mention. A solid commander for soldiers or any sort of go wide token synergy that wants to poop out a bunch of dudes.
Right. This plays very well at all power levels. It is it gets a lot of play in CEDH, but also it's super fun at casual level because like you get that army of soldiers, and like Esper Sentinel, those soldiers are also artifacts. So you have that build around that you could do. It's nice to know that you can play your stuff and not worry about it, at least on your turn.
That's interesting. I would like to see if there's some sort of like affinity for artifact type build that you have this as your commander and you just use it to poop out dudes. And the set this is from actually did have some like colorless soldiers in the artifact vein, which is really neat. All right, that's it for our top 5, guys. If you didn't get your choice put on the list, make sure you guys vote down below in the description. We've got a link for you to vote on our next topics. Make sure you get your votes in so we have the best information to make these episodes for you, and we just need more results. Next up, thanks to our sponsor EDHRec, we have an exclusive patron deck tech for you. So, Veggie, tell us about our new list.
Our patron Magic Cave 05 has submitted a list for Harbin Vanguard Aviator. I have not seen a list for this commander at all before, so I'm very excited for it. It's 2 mana for a 3/2 flyer, and when you attack with 5 or more soldiers, your entire team gets pumped +1/+1 and gets flying.
I have never seen this at a commander table. However, it was one of my favorite cards to draft in Brothers War.
Oh, yeah.
This was a fun deck. All right, so I'm really excited. Let's take a look at what we've got. It looks like we start off with a bunch of artifacts.
Okay.
Horn of Valhalla makes soldiers, I assume.
Yes, it does. And then the other part pumps for a number of creatures you have. So
and Horn of Gondor. There's some good bonuses from new sets here.
Yeah, speaking of limited, I have Horn of Gondor flashbacks. But I will say I'm surprised as far as ramp goes. Usually, Azorius needs the rocks, and this does not have many. There's not even an Azorius Signet or Talisman of Progress or anything like that. So maybe it's just the curve is very low.
The other thing I would note, soldiers typically do have a very low curve, so I wouldn't expect to see a gilded lotus in this list. I would like to see more low-powered rocks, but maybe there's some expensive stuff in here I don't know about.
Yeah, let's see what that's paying for. All right, the creatures. We know this is going to be where the meat is at.
Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, a bunch of good team pumps. Bastion Protector, Captain of the Watch, Daru War Chief. What a classic. But yeah, lots of soldier lords.
I also want to note that I love seeing cards like Cathar Commander in this. I'm sorry, Cathar Commando, because you get those creature benefits. You get all the creatures that you want while also being able to bake in some removal when you need it in a pinch. You don't have to waste a full spell on it and prevent yourself from really maxing out those creatures on the board, but you get it all wrapped up into one nice package here.
Mm-hmm. The Champions of Minas Tirith is an interesting choice. It is a soldier, makes you the monarch, but the ability just stops people from attacking you equal number of cards in your hand, which I don't feel like soldiers often have a ton of cards in hand, but maybe you have enough creatures to stop from losing monarch status. Yep. Lords.
Nykthos Paragon. Are we gaining life in this deck?
I mean, like, I get you only need a couple instances, right? Because the effect is very strong for having a wide board. But I don't think I've seen a ton of constant life gain. Cards like Ranger Captain of Eos, which is very, very strong, a like CEDH staple next to throwbacks like Gerard Capashen oh wait, there's life gain. There you go. Gain 1 life for each card in an opponent's hand.
Oh, okay, we found
Combo
one.
with Nykthos Paragon. Done. I like this because you're playing some strong cards, but also some ones that are very flavorful.
There is another new soldier here, the Sky Strike Officer. That's a great way to draw some extra cards and make some extra soldiers. You get to do it all with this one.
Just a bunch of soldiers that make more soldiers or pump up all of your soldiers, with a couple like interesting choices here and there. This is a lot of instants.
Whoa, yeah, it is. We've got Cyclonic Rift, Pact of Negation, Force of Will. We found the value of the deck here.
This is an angry soldiers list. They do not want things happening. Thank you very much.
I mean, normally one of the things that go wide creature decks lack is the ability to protect themselves from a board clear. Well, this, with 2 0 costing counter spells, you can certainly protect yourself from some stuff here.
This is not concerned about those spells resolving. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of counter magic. I'm seeing some bounce.
This is more counter magic than you play, and you're just like mono blue decks.
Yeah, this is. I guess so. Your plan is like get some little creatures out early, and they stack on each other, and then just hold it down with counter magic. Lands. I think this is going to be. I do appreciate when you finally get to run like a specific land for your creature type. So they get the fortified beachhead to also give your team more pump.
Yeah. So why not just have built-in pumps into your mana base?
Ooh, Minas Tirith. I also very big on that card.
Perfect in this deck.
Yeah. Plus, because the commander is also very cheap, so you don't have to worry about that ever coming in tapped.
And sorceries, we just have some more.
Oh, these are rude. These are rude sorceries. 3 out of the 4 of them are bounce everything. So you have 3 reset buttons.
Nice for when you start to get a little outpaced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because I guess you build up very quickly afterward.
And there's also Cyclonic Rift in the instance portion, so more bounce but scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, pretty solid deck list. What do you think overall, Veggie?
I think it's a very a big interactive package to protect a fun and suboptimal creature choice, because I think there's some very good creatures. They all work well together, but some of those are clearly flavor choices. Like Gerard is not a good card, but I like to see him here.
Also, I feel like this person, Magic Cave, deserves some credit for picking a deck. I feel like this was designed for what will NerdGirl like? Okay, white creatures, go wide. And then what will Veggie like? I think put in all the counter magic. I think this person might be trying to cheat the end scores and try to get both of us.
Look, if there's one thing, it's I can be pandered to. So that will reflect certainly in our final scores.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at EDHRec and put in this commander, see if there's anything cute that we notice that may be a good addition to this deck. All right, let's take a look at what we've got for EDHRec.
Yeah, already starting off strong with the new cards. I think some of these are good choices.
And not a lot of win cons in the deck. It's felt like a lot of good value creatures, soldiers, and counter magic. But what about something like Moonshaker Cavalry to finish off the job?
Yeah, that will certainly do it. It's an honorary soldier. We'll count it.
I like Ghost Hoof. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the last thing you play before they're all dead.
Yeah. All right, High Synergy. We saw a lot of these.
Not the Valorant Veteran, though, which is a cheap lord, which will also lord from the graveyard.
Auto-include for me would be Preeminent Captain, because free soldiers from your hand and surprise, they're swinging. Valley Rush Banneret is also a very good choice. We saw like most things in this deck were pretty low cost, but there was usually at least one generic mana in most of those. So that can mean like a bunch more spells in a turn.
I will say that we didn't see, though we saw a lot of instants at counter magic, we didn't see any removal. So no Swords to Plowshares, no Path to Exile. I would like to maybe see some of those, but maybe the bounce magic is strong enough.
Yeah, sometimes things sneak out on the battlefield before you can counter them. So I would definitely jump on like a Swords and a like Path to Exile, that kind of thing.
You know what I didn't see any of? Enchantments and Planeswalkers.
Okay.
So that's where I would like to take a little bit of a peek and see if there's anything there that we maybe missed that's super relevant to this creature type.
Oh, another classic, Mobilization. I don't know if this is good enough, to be honest. I think it's been maybe a little power crept, but it makes me feel good. I remember when that card was very good.
Takasia's Welcome, also a new enchantment for some good card draw, because we didn't see a ton of it.
Yeah. Or of course, like Kindred Discovery. You're going to make a lot of tokens, and all of those trigger that. So the card draw could be super useful. So you always have counter magic in hand.
Flowering of the White Tree. You make a lot of tokens, so they're going to get buffed. But most of these soldiers, including your commander, they're legendary.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not a terrible overall Lord type enchantment. And Cathar's Crusade. Oh my God. I love that card. Every time want to play that.
What?
Okay. What about Planeswalkers? Is there anything specific to soldiers or Orzhov that we really want to be looking into Planeswalkers for?
I mean, there's this nice lady here. Elspeth almost always makes soldiers on whatever form that she's in.
And pumps them. It's just a good value engine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially like Sun's Champion seems like a home run here because you're making multiple soldiers. And unless you've got like 3 lords out, that board wipe is only hitting your opponent's stuff.
One of the Planeswalkers I'm not seeing here is the Capenna Elspeth. Elspeth Resplendent? That seems really cool to give keywords and +1/+1 counters to all of your different legendary creatures to buff them and help them get in.
Oh, so you're saying that the card that synergizes really well with your honorable mention is something that you would include in the deck?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I'm going to go to sorceries because we only saw the 4 in there and 3 of them were big bounces, which like I can see, but I want to say that there are better options there for clearing the board out. Oh, that is nice. Distant Melody. You don't normally get to play that spell in soldiers. That's a ton of card draw. I'm thinking like what's the Hour of Reckoning? I think the Convoke, kill everything that's not a token would be good. Ooh, like yeah, Austere Command. Usually not a fan of this kind of thing, but this one would allow most of your soldiers to survive.
That's true.
Because they're all like 3 or less, so you just don't pick that one.
Yeah, Austere Command is a classic in any token deck, and this is no exception.
Yeah,
I like it better than something like Farewell.
Yeah. Oh, Raise the Palisade. That I don't know why I wasn't thinking about that because I am really enjoying that card in a lot of builds recently. If you're going to be playing Bounce Everything, why not play Bounce Everything except for soldiers?
Yeah, that's a really good addition. I actually didn't know that card existed.
I'll make sure that you know that it exists in our next game.
Rude. All right, I know what to look out for. What would you like to see change in this deck list? Like what is there any cards you think are auto includes that weren't there or some areas where the deck was maybe lacking?
I would say it probably needs at least like 5 or 10 more pieces of counter magic. I'm pretty happy with this as it is. I would probably swap out the like mass bounce spells for some more specific board wipes so that you're able to just like go boom, everything's gone but my soldiers, and that's a win.
So on a veggie scale, what would you give this 1 to 10 when it comes to power, flavor, and just your personal play style?
I think I'm gonna give this one an 8. It floats in that area of like, we're playing some strong cards, but also we are committing to some like fun and flavorful choices. It's got a lot of interaction. So I think I would be pretty happy playing this as is.
Yeah, that sounds like a really high score. For me, I would like to see a little bit more removal added to the deck. So that's going to be just, simple swords and a path would make me pretty happy. The counter magic, a little heavy for me personally in a creature deck. I would like to see a little bit more of a commit to the actual creatures and putting in the things that really benefit them, sort of like the Cathar's Crusade or maybe the tree that pumps your whole board. But that's just me personally. I'm not a huge counter magic fan. So I'm going to give this a 6.5.
Oh, now we got to do math?
I believe in you, Veggie.
All right, so it's an 8.
That wraps up our Patreon deck tech. Thank you so much to Magic Cave for submitting this list and being our patron.
And of course, thank you to our sponsor, EDHRec, the #1 deck building website.
That's it for this Commander Countdown. Make sure you guys use the link in the description to vote on our next episodes to help us get the best information possible for them. We really appreciate your support. And that's it for us. We'll see you next time on Commander Countdown.